Hello humans, I'm Yoshiller, and today I'm here to bring you guys an analysis video of Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U. Now, what exactly does that entail? Well, let me tell you this. Many videos on YouTube for Super Smash Bros. Are discussions, where people will discuss things that are said to appear in the game, and they discuss what they think will happen. That is not what this video is. When I say that this is an analysis video, I'm saying that this isn't so much talking about what is going to happen, but it is rather why certain things are happening. My goal is to verify the actions of the development team behind these games. This video will discuss the development and design choices of the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Games as decided by the game's director, Masahiro Sakurai, and the team behind the games, which will be referred to as the Smash Team. Now, before I go further into this video, I should mention that I've uploaded 2 other analysis videos for these games. The first one was called Sakurai is a Genius. That video focused on the announcements of the games from E3 2013, and I discussed why certain things were shown and why certain things weren't shown. I talked about why certain design choices were made for the games, and I talked about why the series is going in this direction. My second video was called Sakurai Knows What He's Doing. That video focused more on the announcements that had been made after I made my first announcement video, and it talked about the removal of certain aspects and the addition of others, such as removing a story mode from the games but adding characters such as Rosalina and Little Mac. Both of these videos received very positive reviews, and people have asked me to make a third analysis video. At first, I was a bit unsure as to whether or not I should make a third analysis video, but since I did my last Super Smash Bros. Analysis video, a ton of information has come out. We've had a Nintendo Direct solely focused on Super Smash Bros., which revealed a ton of information. We had E3 2014, which occurred and revealed even more information, and we're still getting pictures from Sakurai's Miiverse posts that are revealing even more information. But the thing that prompted me to create another analysis video for these games was not necessarily because of the new information that was revealed, but rather how people reacted to it. For some reason, fans of the series really feel the need to nitpick about every minor issue with these games. People are never fully satisfied with any information that is revealed. It's like, no matter what the Smash team does to please you people, all you guys ever do is complain. Do you guys not realize how much stuff the Smash team has done to please all of you? Now, I somewhat get it. You can't please everybody, but you may as well try. Sakurai has decided to include a ton of stuff into these games, but every time he does so, there's always this group of people that complain about something that he hasn't done yet. How does that make any sense? You guys should be thankful for what you have and not upset about what you don't have. It's like waking up on Christmas Day or Hanukkah if you're Jewish and getting every present you wanted except for one, and then you spend the rest of the day moping and doping about the fact that you didn't get that one present. Well, what about all the other presents you got? Do those no longer matter to you? Perhaps you guys don't understand that Sakurai is a game design master. He is a genius, he knows what he's doing, and perhaps he is the most inventive game designer on this planet, and that's what I shall be explaining in this video. Now, I'm not one to normally insult people, but I feel like something needs to be said. I'm not trying to say that everyone needs to feel satisfied with Sakurai's design choices, and I'm not saying that complaining is bad, but you guys are complaining about the wrong things. People should review a product for what it is, and not for what it's not. You guys should judge these Smash Bros. Games based on what it does have, rather than judging them on what they don't have. For instance, it's okay if you really want Ness to return in the game, but to go as far as to say that the Smash team is full of idiots because they haven't announced him yet is ridiculous. Do you know how hard they're working? Instead, the proper way to complain would be to talk about something that is in the game that you don't like. For example, if you don't like the way that Bowser plays in the new game, then speak up, complain about that, give criticism. Don't just go and complain because you feel like you need to complain. Oh, and by the way, I actually love the way that Bowser plays, so don't think that I don't like that. It's almost like people feel as though they're entitled. People always feel like they're right. People always feel like everything they say has to be the way that things are. But can't you people understand that Sakurai is doing what he wants? Can't you understand that the reason you guys love Super Smash Bros. Is because Sakurai chose these things to be the way they are? Can't you understand that the Smash team is developing this and not you? They obviously know more about this stuff than others. The people behind these games are qualified game designers and developers who follow Sakurai's requests and make things as entertaining for the player as possible. Now, who am I to be saying all of this? Aren't I just some random guy on the internet Well, please allow me to provide a little bit of background about myself. I'm a soon-to-be video game designer who's inspired by Nintendo and their products. I have made several videos on the internet consisting of video game walkthroughs, multiplayer matches, showcases, and, as you see here, analyses. No, I don't work for Nintendo, although I would like to one day, but I assure you guys that I know a bit more about the gaming industry than the average group. I'm going to college, I'm learning game design theory, I'm learning all sorts of stuff. I know how certain things function, and let me tell you, the gaming industry is a tough business. I'm not trying to act like I know everything, though. In reality, a lot more people know more stuff than I do. But somebody needs to step up and talk about this stuff, and if nobody else is going to do it, then I'll do it. So here, I'm talking about the whining and moaning of some of these Super Smash Bros. Fans. Oh, and if it further helps my case, I went to E3 2014, okay? While I was there, I played lots and 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 lots of Super Smash Bros. Every day I was there, I played it. I played as every character in the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U versions. I played on every single stage at least once, and I tried to use as many items as I could. The Smash team has put forth a huge project, and so far, I can justify that they've done a brilliant job putting these games together. But like I said earlier, making video games is a tough business. It becomes even tougher when several different ideas are thrown into the mix, and Super Smash Bros. Has a lot of stuff thrown into the mix. And even if you already know that, chances are there's more stuff thrown into the mix that you most likely don't even think of. What makes things even more difficult is the fact that the Smash team has to work with characters from several different franchises. They're working with another person's character, another person's icon. It's like letting somebody borrow your baby. It's not the easiest thing in the world to give up. These characters are well known, and the slightest slip-up could ruin things for everybody. But the Smash team knows that. They know what they're doing by properly representing each of these characters. But each character is so different. You've got the cartoony characters like Mario, Kirby, and Pikachu. Then there's characters that are gallant and protective, choosing only to fight when they need to. These would be characters like Link, Fox, and Mega Man. Then you've got the serious characters that strive to battle each other and overcome their own limits, such as Little Mac, Lucario, and Charizard. And then each of these characters indirectly represents something. Each character has a special type of charisma. What do I mean by this? Well, each character was made for one reason or another, but what defines these characters are what they represent. And I'm talking about more than just their appearance and their attacks. The reasons that these characters were made were to define a general idea, whether it'll be a gaming concept, a philosophical theme, or a self-promoting challenge. In fact, many of you might not even think about this type of thing, but it is pretty important. It's not only the character's appearance and personality that defines a video game character, but it's also what they represent. For example, Mario represents the idea of creativity. Because of Mario, video games should now teach a player how to play through its level design, and players should expect to face tougher and tougher challenges as the game progresses. Link represents the idea of exploration. Because of Link, players can now feel like a hero can come from anywhere, and there are many places to explore within a video game world and our own world. Kirby represents the idea of simplicity. Things shouldn't be needlessly complicated for the sake of looking cool. Kirby was made as a placeholder character, but the design team loved him so much that Kirby stuck around with that design. And his simple design shows that a game can be fun with simple concepts. Little Mac represents the idea of overcoming limits. Although Little Mac was originally made as a small character so that a player may see his opponent more clearly, Little Mac's small size helps convey the point of pushing through a challenge despite how tough it is. It's about raising your limits and shattering them. He shows that no matter how small you are, you can still pull through with thinking. There's more to boxing than just throwing punches. Boxing is knowing about the body's weak points, knowing where to strike and when to strike, how to dodge, and knowing how to always try again when things fail. Fox represents vengeance. As a pilot, his goal is to avenge his father by saving the Lilac Galaxy system and defeating the evil forces of opposing space pilots. He is skilled in both the air and on the ground, and he is self-taught for the most part. He is definitely capable of strategizing tactics without the assistance of others. Lucario represents loyalty. As a Pokemon that only evolved from a Riolu once it has had a clear friendship with its owner, Lucario is a loyal Pokemon that likes to keep calm and only attacks on command. I could go on and on with this, but the point is that each of these characters has unique traits that are more than just different movesets. These characters were created for different purposes, and each character holds different ideals with them. In Super Smash Bros., these ideals should be represented, and thankfully, they are. Kirby still represents simplicity. As he is still a simple character, many people often resort to Kirby as a first-time character, as he's a great character for beginners due to his simplicity. Little Mac still represents the idea of overcoming limits. His limit is not being an air fighter, but that doesn't stop him from being a powerhouse on the ground, and despite being shorter than most characters, he is still unbelievably fast and strong. He is the champion of the ring after all. Now, why does this matter? Because without these ideals that are conveyed through the characters, they wouldn't be the characters that you know. They might look like the characters, but they certainly wouldn't act like them, and that's not what Super Smash Bros. Is about. It's about putting the characters in, not the looks of the characters. Now, some of you might be thinking that I'm looking too into this, but I beg to differ. This is actually a very important concept in Super Smash Bros., and it's important that the Smash team correctly represents each of these characters and their ideals. Most people probably wouldn't even think of something like this when making a game like Super Smash Bros., but the Smash team does, and that's why they are so great. And with their great hard efforts and their recognition of these character ideals, a colorful collection of characters in the Super Smash Bros. Roster exists. There's a reason that Sakurai chose these specific characters to participate in this all-star smash-out. Now, of course, Sakurai is going to include characters like Mario, Donkey Kong, and Kirby. They're popular Nintendo characters, but it's because of the ideals that these characters represent that they were even successful at all. And in being popular characters, they rightfully deserve a spot in this game. So, for instance, Lucario is in Super Smash Bros. Of course, that's because Lucario is a popular Pokemon. But it's a popular Pokemon because it had its own movie. It had its own movie because Lucario represented certain ideals that it was trying to convey in this movie. Each character in Super Smash Bros. Wasn't just thrown in because somebody asked for it. There's a way to make each of these characters stand out from one another. And in order to do that, the Smash team has to decide what a character represents before they can do anything else. And then, after a character is chosen, there needs to be modeling, texturing, animating, and voice acting. Every character has a specific pose, a specific look, and every character has special sounds and effects for each action. It'd be very easy to repeat certain sound effects on characters, but obviously a sword slash from Link will sound different than a hammer swing from Kirby or a laser blast from Mega Man. This type of stuff is often overlooked, but it is important that each of these details is represented with each character. But of course, Super Smash Bros. Is more than just the characters. There's also stages, modes, items, music, features, videos, translation, and more. And each of those aspects is further subdivided into additional features that I will talk about later in this video. I'll go in order of the things I just listed, and I will discuss each of these assets. But before I do, please let me tell you how game development usually works. Every asset of a video game is developed at the same time. This is very important. The people that design stages don't wait for the characters to be programmed, and the people that compose the music for the game don't wait for the stages to be created. Everything in the game is made at the same time. Oftentimes, games will begin development with what is essentially known as a vertical slice. A vertical slice is, essentially, a proof of concept for a video game. When a game begins development, typically the director of the project will create simple assets to convey his idea to his team. He might make some really basic characters and some really basic stages and then have some really generic music, some really generic items, and some really generic sound effects. The point of this, though, is to demonstrate what these professionals should be doing to make this look awesome. It's similar to creating a storyboard for an animation. From there, each person works on their own assets to make the game look nice and pretty. Why is this important? Well, with this information, I can discuss why certain design choices are made. I might also add that because everybody is working on everything at the same time, that means that the super technical stuff is being developed at the same time as the designers making the characters. So for instance, one person might be making a model for Samus, while the other person is making the textures for that same model, while another person is making all the effects, while another person is doing all of the animations. In order to successfully assign work to each group of employees, everything about the game needs to be compiled in what is known as a Game Design Document, or GDD for short. A GDD contains anything and everything that a creator wishes to include within a video game, even if certain things might not be possible at the time. The idea is still written down in the GDD in case it becomes possible in the future. More often than not, a lot of ideas in a GDD never come to fruition, whether it's due to time constraints, budget issues, or lack of technological development. But the GDD must be completed before a game begins development. This means that every character, stage, and mode is decided upon before development. Now, there are a few things that are left a little loose. Obviously, a GDD will not say how long a song is composed. It will not specifically say what a level looks like. It'll have these generic ideas. Some things will be specific, but not everything. A GDD is supposed to give the general idea of a subject, while discussing the technical tidbits to make it possible. So a GDD for Super Smash Bros. Would probably discuss what characters would be playable, what stages should be available, and what items should appear. Then, it would discuss the attacks for each character, the effects of certain stages, and the technicalities of certain items. It probably won't say things like, there'll be a wireframe mat costume, or there'll be a song that's a recomposition of the masked DDD theme from Kirby Superstar Ultra. No. None of that. But it will have every important detail laid out. Extra minor things can always be included later in development, but it's very rare to add major things such as another character. Now, if you don't believe me when I say that Sakurai plans everything out in Super Smash Bros. Ahead of time, he said that he actually does do that during the E3 2014 roundtable. Unfortunately, the only audio recording that existed of him saying this was removed from the internet, but you can still find text evidence of him saying this. The point is, Sakurai plans out almost every single thing before the game begins development. Now, in all fairness, Sakurai has altered development a little bit. It has happened in previous Super Smash Bros. Titles. For example, Sonic the Hedgehog was a late inclusion in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and Snake and Lucas could have been additions to Super Smash Bros. Melee, though they were not. However, the reason I bring all of this up is because the GDD for Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U is probably huge. Sakurai probably has tons of ideas, and he's trying to include as many as he possibly can, and unfortunately, he might not be able to do them all. But look at what he has done! He's providing the ultimate fan service! Now, when I say fan service, I don't mean this. I mean this.
It's your time, man. Show them what you got, baby. 1, 2.
So I'm going to introduce the 4 special guests who are going to play Super Smash Bros. Here as part of the Invitational. The Celebrity Rumble, as we call it. All right, first up on the first controller, we've got Keegan Allen. Keegan, come on out. Keegan's from Pretty Little Liars. Our second guest is someone you probably know very well. She's been in some Nintendo commercials over the years. Please welcome Zelda Williams. All right, thank you, Zelda. Great to have you with us. But it gives me great honor to introduce to you Mr. Sakurai.
We also had some player expectations we had to fulfill. And that means a Mega Evolution. After its Mega Evolution, Lucario's aura attacks will always do maximum damage. But wait, there's one more returning fighter I wanted to talk about.
Brawlers, sword fighters, and gunners. Each type is treated as a separate fighter. And each type can choose 4 special moves from 12 options. This means that the Mii fighters will have a total of 36 special moves from which to choose. It would take 9 regular fighters to equal that number of moves.
So 4 of the most famous characters in the video game industry on the same screen battling each other. This really is a miracle. And of course, the only game to make this happen is Super Smash Bros.
You guys, this group here, the folks out here, the folks in the back, you two, this is why we did this tournament. It was for the fans.
Is that the Hero King himself?
And the Radiant Hero of Legend. Worthy opponents indeed.
Now, again, maybe some of those things like assist trophies and items weren't planned from the start of the game, but the characters and fighting aspects sure were. Do you guys not see how much stuff is in this game? Do you guys not see how Sakurai is trying to please you guys? I know it's not all of you guys that are complaining about these things, but man, there are sure quite a number of people that are complaining about this stuff. How are you people still dissatisfied with all of this? Sakurai is listening to you guys. He knows that you guys wanted an Animal Crossing representative. He knows that you guys wanted Mega Man. He knows that you guys wanted Little Mac. He knows that you guys wanted Mii's. He knows that you guys wanted Pac-Man. He knows that you guys wanted to use your GameCube controller in a way to have a wired connection with the game. He knows that you guys wanted a way to play both seriously and humorously online. He knows that some people like stages with hazards while others like fair stages. He knows that you guys want to play the game before it comes out. He knows that you guys want to host tournaments in order to test your competitive skills. He changed up the competitive gameplay by removing tripping and ledge guarding. He gives you all this stuff. He gives you an Animal Crossing representative. He gives you Mega Man. He gives you Little Mac. He gives you the Mii's. He gives you Pac-Man. He gives you GameCube controllers. He gives you 4 fun and 4 glory modes, Final Destination variants of stages, Smash Fest at Best Buy, and an invitational tournament. He even added stuff that you guys probably didn't request, like Wireframe Mac and Pink Jacket Mac and NES Open Golf Mario whatever. It's still cool. He gives you all of this, and you guys still manage to complain about one random thing. Oh, Ridley's not in the game, so this game sucks, right? No, you don't have to like these things, but could you guys at least judge these games properly? Are you guys never going to be happy? Can you guys not be happy with what you get? Are you guys just so spoiled that you always want more? If you said yes to any of those, then what kind of video game fan are you? It's disrespectful and disgraceful, and honestly, you are a poor representation of a Super Smash Bros. Fan. These people want to make a fun game, and when they do listen to you, all you guys ever do is ask for more. Sakurai is not doing anything wrong. Sakurai is doing what you want him to do, but the second he doesn't do one thing you want him to do, all of a sudden, everyone is outraged. Can you give the guy a break? This is a guy who nearly worked himself to death. I kid you not, nearly worked himself to death in order to release Super Smash Bros. Melee near the launch of the Nintendo GameCube. This is a guy who chooses to post a screenshot every single weekday in order to hold you guys over until Super Smash Bros. Comes out. This is a guy who decided to fly out to the United States for a few hours just to watch the Super Smash Bros. Invitational Tournament at E3, answer some questions at a round table, and then fly home to continue working on Super Smash Bros. This is a guy that chose to make this game from his own will and chose to listen to many of your requests. Can't you give the guy credit where credit is due? You should be thanking this man and the Smash team. But alright, I apologize for that outburst. I just had to let out a little steam. Let's get back to the analysis part of this video, shall we? So, I said that I'd talk about stages, modes, items, music, features, videos, translation, and more. So let's go in that order, starting off with stages. Each stage needs to be representative of its original franchise. Why? Well, it's similar to a character representing his or her ideals. A stage should really showcase a game and show what the game is about. Stages are just as important as the characters, as without the stages, the game is pretty much pointless. A big chunk of the fun in Super Smash Bros. Is playing on a diverse set of stages with a diverse set of characters. However, a stage is still different from a character, obviously. In fact, a stage is probably even harder to represent properly. A character like Captain Falcon might not showcase what his franchise is about, but his stage certainly will have to do that for him. Captain Falcon is from F-Zero. F-Zero is a racing game, so therefore a stage based on F-Zero should also be based on a game's racing aspects. In fact, a stage should probably get a player interested in playing the original game. Now, I get it, many stages have to be modified in order to fit within the realm of Super Smash Bros. I know that Palutena's temple doesn't look anything like that in the original games, but it does have a lot of detail to tell about a bit of the origins of the stage. Let's use Onett and Fourside from Super Smash Bros. Melee as examples. These stages are both from Earthbound, or Mother 2 as it's called in Japan. Prior to Super Smash Bros. Melee, I had not played Earthbound. In fact, I did not play Earthbound until it was released on the Wii U's eShop in 2013, but these stages certainly had me interested in playing it. Now, the Onett stage in Super Smash Bros. Melee is a proper representative of Earthbound, as it does have many similarities. There's a drugstore, some houses, some cars, some hills, and some peacefulness. But it doesn't tell me that the game is about a kid who has to find 8 melodies in order to defeat a great evil being called Gaius. There's a similar thing with Fourside. Fourside, again, is from Earthbound, so as such, I didn't know anything about this stage when I first played Melee. But this does show some things from Earthbound. In Earthbound, Fourside has all sorts of tall buildings, one of which that says Monotoli, and it has a helicopter and some creepy mishaps. These stages are modified for Super Smash Bros. Melee, but they still properly represent their original games. In Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, these stage ideas still apply. The stages that have been shown thus far properly represent their original franchises. For instance, there's the Spirit Train from Zelda Spirit Tracks. It's more than just a train ride, as it has hazards and other things from Zelda Spirit Tracks. Rainbow Road is from Mario Kart 7. The stage is a grand tour of the various parts of Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7. The Balloon Fight stage is actually really representative of Balloon Fight, even to the point where going off the side of the stage doesn't kill you. Instead, you just show up on the opposite side. Mushroom Kingdom U is very representative of New Super Mario Bros. U. There's Nabbit as a stage hazard, and there's various scenarios on the stage that are based off of different levels and areas in New Super Mario Bros. U. Ultimately, each of these stages is crafted with care, and they are just as important as the other aspects of the game. But making stages is a tricky point. There's quite a few parts that go into every single stage in the game. First, a designer needs to determine how big a stage is. At what part of the stage is a player considered to have fallen off it? What parts of the stage count as ledges? What parts of the stage can a player stand on and not stand on? Is this a moving stage? What counts as a hazard? How do certain characters interact with certain objects on the stage? All of this must be taken into consideration when creating a stage. That would be the technical aspect of the stage anyway. Then there's the design aspect of a stage. You know, making the stage look all pretty. So aside from designing the proper textures for the objects on a stage, there's also the background objects, which may or may not be animated. There's also the skybox and the flashy visual effects that may occur on certain stages. So to demonstrate how the process of creating a stage would come to be, I'm going to use the boxing ring as an example. I've actually played on this stage and it's quite fun. So let's start with the technical stuff. The stage has walk-off ledges and the player can also be eliminated by going too high into the ceiling. Near the top of the stage is a set of lights that can be destroyed, and the player can jump through the lights if he or she is underneath them, and the stage will become dark when the lights are destroyed. There are also ropes at the ends of the stages that will propel a player upward if he or she jumps on them. So that's the technical aspect of the stage, but what about the design aspect? Well, this is a boxing ring, and it's from Punch-Out no less. Punch-Out is a simple enough game. It's about boxing, so the emphasis should be on the boxing arena. The stage should have lighting that's focused on the actual ring of the stage. And this is a World Circuit boxing ring. Of course, there's more to a World Circuit stadium than just the ring. There's got to be some sort of walkway to get to it. So the walkway on the side of the stage should not have too much emphasis, but considering that this is a World Circuit ring, they should certainly be flashy. And of course, there's going to be a huge crowd watching this fight, so there should be an animated crowd cheering on the players. Ooh, but the animation of a crowd is a tricky task. It might be possible to cut a corner and make each of the crowd members look like a punching dummy for boxers. It could be a little joke, and a quick way to make the stage. Then there should be a TV in the background that displays the match for people that can't sit close up to the ring. And every time someone gets eliminated, the TV will say KO and there'll be flashy lights all over the place. Oh, and of course we can't forget the sponsorship of the stage. Special thanks to the WVBA for hosting this fight. We'd also like to thank the Punch-Out video game, so let's put the name of the game in the headlines behind the ring. That would be the design aspect of the stage, and with the design and the technical aspect of a stage, that's how you'd probably break it down, and that's probably how you build it up. With that type of thinking, the Smash team is able to create all sorts of stages. And from the looks of things, Sakurai and the Smash team are properly breaking down each stage and designing them accordingly. This is a tricky task that not a lot of people think about. With their precision and detail on each of these stages, they should be thanked and applauded for their hard work in creating every single one. Well, I guess that's all I have to say for stages. Next up, let's talk about modes. And woo-wee, there's a lot of them. There was even a trailer devoted to the game modes of the upcoming 3DS version shown during the Nintendo Digital event. This trailer is a bit short, but every 5 to 10 seconds, some sort of different mode or feature is shown. And it's only a small glimpse. That's ridiculous! Most people, when they think of Smash Bros., they think of the plain and simple versus mode. I mean, yeah, the Target Smash mode and Home Run Contest modes are well known, but most people don't really think of those right off the bat when somebody mentions Super Smash Bros. But did you guys ever take the time to appreciate how many modes there are in the previous Super Smash Bros. Games? No? Okay, in the original Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, there weren't too many modes. But this was also back in a day and age where file size was a major issue, and the technology, while advanced for its time, was not nearly as advanced as it is today. The original Super Smash Bros. Game managed to introduce the good old versus mode, as well as the ability to decide what type of match could be played and what items could and could not appear. Then there were also plenty of single player modes, such as the classic mode, the break the targets mode, the board the platforms mode, the training mode, the records mode, and the character BIOS mode. This could have been a simple crossover fighting game, you know, just beat up the other person. But Sakurai took the time to have his team develop separate modes so that you could learn about the fighters within the game and utilize their abilities in different scenarios. You could be bad at fighting against others, but maybe you're really good at speedrunning in the board the platforms mode. Maybe you could have just liked reading up on the characters like I did. I didn't know who Captain Falcon and Ness were when I first got this game, but I was certainly interested to find out more. Now, most of these modes were later transferred into Super Smash Bros. Melee, and Melee further built upon these modes. Now, because there were more characters, there were more break the target stages. And then there were plenty of new awesome modes like the Home Run Contest and Multi-Man Melee modes. The Trophy mode was introduced, which was like an updated version of the character biographies from the original game, but now you could learn about other characters from the game, even ones that weren't playable. And not only that, but for the characters that were playable, there were like at least 3 trophies for each of them. The multiplayer mode also got a huge boost. In addition to more customizable options, you could also play themed matches such as lightning fast battles or giant battles. And then within each of these matches, you could play a timed match, a stock match, a coin match, or a bonus match. But the 2 modes that really caught my interest were the Multi-Man Melee mode and the event matches. These 2 modes were so interesting to me, and without a doubt, the event matches were my favorite thing in single player mode. These 2 modes were just so interesting to me, and without a doubt, the event matches were my favorite thing in Super Smash Bros. Melee, while the Multi-Man Melee mode was a great way for me to practice stuff. The event matches were a great way to show the player ridiculous scenarios that could occur because of the game's design. They made the player not only fight, but think about their own fighting style. And as the event matches went on, they became harder and harder and more ridiculous. It was a great addition to the game, and it was a great way to test a player's skill. Even the way that characters were unlocked became clever. Whereas in the original Super Smash Bros. Game, 3 of the 4 characters could be unlocked merely by playing the game's classic mode. Of course, Luigi had to be unlocked by other means, but this didn't really encourage the player to look through the other modes in the game. In Super Smash Bros. Melee, I had to look up how to unlock half of these characters. Each character had a special way to be unlocked, ranging from simply clearing classic mode to clearing a specific event match to leaving the game on for 24 hours. I hope you enjoyed that, Mewtwo. This really encouraged players to try out the different modes within the game, and to try and play all sorts of styles and all sorts of characters. Yes, it was a bit tiresome to unlock all of the characters, but it was sure a creative way of doing so. Now, Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out, and not only did it include a ton of modes from Super Smash Bros. Melee, but it added even more modes. Players can now create their own stages, and then players can now save replays of matches. Players can now unlock trophies through a mode called Coin Launcher, and there was a rotation mode. The Multi-Man Brawl, Home Run Contest, Target Smash, and Event Match modes all feature co-op play. And you don't have to like each of these things, like I wasn't too fond of the event matches in this game, but there is a lot of work put into this. Most notably, the mode that stands out above the rest is the game's adventure mode, the Subspace Emissary. This mode is massive. Not only did we get actual levels and battle arenas that were exclusive to the story mode, but we actually got I don't know, a story. That means cutscenes, customization, and seeing different characters interact with one another. Now, I know that this mode had some mixed feedback, as a lot of the levels do feel repetitive at times, but there's no doubt that this was a massive mode that had a lot of thought put into it. And, in fact, there was even supposed to be more stuff put into the Subspace Emissary, such as a deleted cutscene where Meta Knight gets the halberd stolen. Man, this was a cool mode, and it was co-op! Super Smash Bros. Brawl really encouraged multiplayer. And speaking of multiplayer, that also got a huge boost. In addition to having online play, the offline mode had a lot of stuff that you could customize. In Super Smash Bros. Melee, you had themed matches, but you couldn't mix themed matches. You couldn't have tall, invisible matches. Well, in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, you could, and you could also have people spew out fireballs everywhere. It's fun. Super Smash Bros. Is full of clever and unique modes. Each mode takes time to create. Sakurai and the Smash team are not only spending their time to create each of these modes, but they're coming up with new ones that will allow the player to truly try out each and every character in various ways. That means that there are extra ways for you to have fun with different characters, both when you're playing with friends and when you're playing alone. Not to mention that a lot of the modes that Sakurai incorporates into his games also appear in other games of his. Of course, Sakurai's core Kirby games would influence the gameplay of the Subspace Emissary, but there are plenty of other interesting things. Sakurai's menu designs from Super Smash Bros. Melee would later be incorporated into Kirby Air Ride, and then Kirby Air Ride's challenge menu would be incorporated into Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The character customization attacks and buttons from Kid Icarus Uprising are also going to be incorporated into Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. And the difficulty meter from Kid Icarus Uprising is going to be incorporated in some way with Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. And the City Trial mode from Kirby Air Ride, which is like everybody's favorite mode from that game, influenced the upcoming Smash Run mode. That's awesome! All of these additions and modes are influenced from other awesome modes from Sakurai's previous works. And not only are they fun, but they are also great additions to the Super Smash Bros. Franchise that help represent Sakurai's other games. Well done, Mr. Sakurai and the Smash team! Now, it's time to discuss some items. And I know that there are a lot of people that don't like playing with items, and that's fine, but there's no doubt that the items within Super Smash Bros. Are diverse and interesting. And in these upcoming games, the items look awesome. That trailer that they showed during the Smash Bros. Direct was awesome! And again, if you don't like items, then don't use them. But there are some really cool items that have appeared throughout the series, such as the motion sensor bomb, the Donkey Kong hammer, the bumper, and the common favorite, the Pokeball. Each of these items is used in a different way, and not only that, but there's specific ways that each character holds and uses each item. For instance, something like a Bob-omb is supposed to be thrown at an opponent. But if a player holds onto a Bob-omb for too long, then the Bob-omb will explode in the player's hands, causing the player to be damaged instead of the opponent. The beam sword is supposed to be used as a weapon. Players are supposed to swing it at opponents, but players can also choose to throw the item at opponents. And then there are characters like Pikachu who hold the item in their mouth when they use it. And with an item like the beam sword, every character needs to have separate animations for swinging an item like that, since not every character comes with a swinging animation. Then, there are self-upgrading items such as the Metal Box, Bunny Hood, Starman, and Tanuki Leaf. These items change the way that a character functions, whether it is in terms of speed, power, and/or defense. And a lot of new items are still very creative. That Bomb Shoe item looks like it could be a lot of fun. The Firebar item is an interesting item that is based on conservation. The new Cuckoo item looks hilarious. The Hakatate bomb is an item of suspense, since it's hard to tell when that bomb's going to come back down and destroy everybody. And that new Blue Shell item is just haunting, just like it is in Mario Kart. And what's fun about all of these items is that each one comes from a different game universe. Something that always intrigued me was how a certain video game character would act in a certain scenario. How would Mario command a Pokemon? How would Link use a gun? These are just some basic ideas. And then you've got all sorts of crazy items flying all over the place and creating some chaotic and memorable matches. A lot of thought goes into creating these items, and it seems like the items are where a lot of the fun in designing a video game can be represented. I could seriously see a bunch of members of the Smash team sitting around and talking about how funny it would be to turn into a bullet bill and to smash opponents within it. And then there's the added fun of choosing which item should appear in a match, because I know that there's a lot of people that love setting explosive items on high and then setting the damage ratio to 2.0. I, for one, love bouncing around on the stage with having bumpers set to high. And within these items, we have Pokeballs, Assist Trophies, and Smash Balls. The Pokeball item is a great item that allows the Smash team to showcase different Pokemon in their attacks. There are so many Pokemon, but they can't all be playable, so the Pokeball is a great way to showcase just some of the ones that aren't playable. And now that there's Master Balls as a separate item, chaos can really ensue. What's cool about the Pokemon in these games is that each one of them does something different. players have to learn how to react to different Pokemon. And there's just the added fun of not knowing what's going to come out of that little ball. A player could summon anything from a Goldeen, which might not do anything, to an Onyx, which will make rocks tumble down the stage. Or the player could summon an Electrode, which acts as an explosive. Or the player could summon some sort of legendary Pokemon, which usually destroys everything on the field. And then there's the new Pokemon that still continue to show off some cool ideas. While it's certainly fun to see stuff like Fennekin and Snivy, it's also fun to see new battle effects from Pokemon such as Arceus and Go-Goat. This type of stuff is so cool, and it can really change up the pace of a battle. I'm so glad that so many Pokemon can be summoned from this one, or I guess 2 items, and almost everyone causes some sort of different effect. Then we have assist trophies, and much like a Pokeball, it's a very great item that can be used to represent all sorts of stuff. Assist trophies are a great way to showcase different characters from franchises that didn't quite make the cut for the Super Smash Bros. Roster. And it's also a great way to put characters in the game without needing to create entire movesets for them. I think that characters like Waluigi, Knuckle Joe, Samurai Goro, and Magnus are perfect examples of assist trophies. They are characters that could very well be fighters in a game like this, but they don't really represent their respective series as well as other characters from it. Or they might just not have enough characteristics or charm that the actual fighting characters have. Waluigi can beat people up, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't really represent anything other than a sidekick for Wario in the Mario spin-off games. Whereas Wario is in Super Smash Bros. Because he has his own Wario Land and WarioWare series, plus he's actually quite a humorous character of his own. Plus there are plenty of assist trophies that just look fun. I practically squealed when I saw that the Chain Chomp was an assist trophy. There's no real reason for a Chain Chomp to be a playable character in Super Smash Bros., but there are plenty of fun things, like the Chain Chomp, that can be great assist trophies. It's just such a simple and fun idea. Now, it's a shame for a character like Saki from Sin and Punishment to still be an assist trophy and not a fighter, but hey, it's better than Saki not appearing at all. And that's another thing. There were plenty of characters that people wanted, and Sakurai and the Smash team already have plans for their characters, so they took a lot of character requests and made them assist trophies, which to me is actually quite interesting. Prime examples of this would be Skull Kid, Magnus, and Ashley. They weren't planned to be playable characters in the game, but hey, at least they're in the game. Sakurai said it himself in a Miiverse post. Just because you try hard doesn't mean you'll make it into the battle. He knows that you guys want specific characters, but he and the Smash team have plans of their own. And for one reason or another, they decided that certain characters just shouldn't be playable. Some characters are more deserving to be playable than others, but hey, we should all be thankful that certain characters can even be assist trophies. Now we have the glorious Smash Ball, and that also means that it's time to talk about some Final Smashes. And with these upcoming games, there's one Final Smash that really stands out above the rest, and to me, that would be Mega Man's. Mega Man's Final Smash is like the ultimate homage and tribute to the entire franchise. Not only is it brilliant, but it makes fans of the franchise go berserk. Mega Man's Final Smash could have been, I don't know, a multitude of other attacks that he gets from the Mega Man games, but instead, we have this crazy attack that not only represents Mega Man himself, but the entire franchise. At the Super Smash Bros. Invitational Tournament, people went nuts over Mega Man and his Final Smash.
First one so far in this match, 35 seconds left. Who's gonna get it? Who's gonna get it, people? Mega Man! Mega Man! The super fighting robot!
Oh,
wait!
Oh, he got one, he got one!
Super fighting robot! Mega Man! Fighting to save the world!
The Invitational was quite a fun event on its own, and people were eagerly intrigued to watch every battle, but in addition to the lights constantly flashing and the crowd constantly cheering, everybody went berserk, including the announcers, when Mega Man's Final Smash was shown off during that tournament. The great thing about Final Smashes is that they, for better or for worse, can change the entire outcome of a match. With the exception of a couple characters, almost every Final Smash is different, and each one has a different use and a different result. And with these new games, Sakurai is really beefing up some of these Final Smashes. And hey, if you don't like Final Smashes, then fine, just turn off Smash Balls when you play. I get it, some Final Smashes of characters are way stronger than the Final Smashes of other characters, but I really do think that they're trying to fix that. I do appreciate the fact that each Final Smash is so different and that each one must be used differently, but I also really do think that they're trying to make each Final Smash have a great payoff when used properly. That's the whole point of a Final Smash. It's an ultimate power move. Chef Kirby didn't really give a great payoff, but Ultra Sword Kirby, woo! Look at him go! Sakurai and the Smash team are really looking into this stuff, and these Final Smashes really show off the ultimate power that a character can unleash. And now, fighting for that Smash Ball should feel even more hectic than it already does. And that's a great game design aspect. Now you're really encouraging players to fight for that final smash ability, and depending on which player gets it, not only will the opposing players become fearful, but every player has to react accordingly. With every final smash getting a boost, players will run when somebody breaks that smash ball. Now, on to the music. Now, I don't make music myself, but I can sure appreciate it. Music really adds to the scene of any form of entertainment. Music in itself is a form of entertainment. Now, unfortunately, it's a bit hard for me to talk about music, and it's even harder when the soundtrack for these games is not even released. Talking about music is tricky because it's not necessarily something that Sakurai and the Smash team have a say in. Now, don't get me wrong, there are composers in the Smash team, but these composers, from what I understand, get to compose whatever they want. Now, with a game like Super Smash Bros., many of the songs are renditions of songs from previous Nintendo games. There are custom songs, such as the overall main theme for each Super Smash Bros. Game, and songs such as the Target Smash and Multi-Man Melee modes, but the brilliance of the Super Smash Bros. Music collection is that not only are composers redoing beloved Nintendo songs, but the composers that are doing them are also composers from previous Nintendo classics, and then each composer is essentially recomposing each other's music. That's awesome! For example, there's Motoi Sakuraba, who is a composer known for composing the soundtracks of Mario Tennis, Golden Sun, and the Tales of games. Then, he went to compose the Gourmet Race and Victory Road themes in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Hirokazu Ando, one of the main composers for the Kirby games, composed all of the soundtrack for the Nintendo 64 version of Super Smash Bros., and he composed the beloved Metal Battle theme from Super Smash Bros. Melee. Yoko Shimomura, a composer famous for composing songs for the Final Fantasy series and the Mario & Luigi RPG series, recomposed King Dedede's theme in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Brawl has hundreds of songs, ranging from metal, to jazz, to orchestrated. It's amazing to hear a metal Kirby song, or a techno-esque Star Fox song, or a WarioWare song made to sound like a musical number. And by that one, I'm referring to Ashley's theme from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Well, that whole idea is continued into these next Super Smash Bros. Games, and while I don't think that there'll be hundreds of songs, the songs that have appeared so far have been wonderful. Each song that has been revealed thus far have been fighting fit, and rightfully so. With a fighting game, things are fast and fierce, so the music should fit accordingly. And other members of the Smash team, such as the ones that create and edit the reveal trailers, have utilized these songs and showcased their brilliance and genuinity. And when people play these games and listen to the music, people should understand how much effort is put into each and every one of these background songs. The music is just as important as the characters and the stages, and as a result, the composers should be given a big thank you, just like the rest of the development team. Alright, now let's talk about features within this game. The biggest feature in this game is the character customization feature, and with that comes Nintendo's new Amiibo product. So Nintendo is really trying to push this Amiibo figurine idea, and it seems like it's been an idea that Nintendo has had since the Wii U first launched. After all, the bottom left corner of the Wii U gamepad has always been there for near-field communication. I'm not quite sure why this has hardly been used, but if it's anybody that should show it off, it should be Nintendo themselves. And what better way to do it than with a game full of Nintendo characters like Super Smash Bros. So, even more interestingly, Nintendo is currently developing hardware that will allow players to use these Amiibo figurines on the Nintendo 3DS. And since Super Smash Bros. Is going to be released on both the 3DS and the Wii U, this is an ideal game to demonstrate the Amiibo figurines. And the use of these Amiibo figurines is quite clever. Before Sakurai even began development on these new Super Smash Bros. Games, one of the first things that he told Nintendo President Satoru Iwata was that he wanted to have connectivity between the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U versions of the game in some fashion. Sakurai explained that he planned to do this by having players essentially customize a character on one version and then transfer that character to the other version. Well, these Amiibo figurines are perfect for that. Having an Amiibo figurine is like having a Pokemon. Though I suppose you actually could have a Pokemon figurine. But regardless, these little toys act as both a collector's toy and a USB flash drive. Because there will be Amiibo figurines of each character in Super Smash Bros., players will be able to collect toys of their favorite video game characters. Interestingly, the story of Super Smash Bros. Is about a hand playing with toys. Well, now that can actually happen. Then, each of these toys can store, send, and receive data by simply being placed on other Nintendo devices. But what do the actual figurines do? Well, it's a little confusing right now, but from the looks of it, it acts like a CPU fighter that can play with customizable movesets. Then, based on how you fight it, it will remember how you play, and it will try to counter your attacks. Why was this necessary to include in Super Smash Bros.? Well, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but Super Smash Bros. Included it because it's a great idea. It's basically a CPU that gets stronger and smarter as you play against it. These Amiibo figurines function as a training buddy. and you can see if your training buddy is stronger than another training buddy. The type of idea for these Amiibo figurines is clever because it acts as an additional feature. Players aren't required to purchase these toys, and there's not necessarily an advantage in buying them. It's a completely optional feature. Of course, Nintendo wants you to buy them, but the idea is that these toys don't serve as a play-to-win function. And that's clever. It's a simple function, and it's a fun feature that demonstrates the potential of Amiibo. Now that I'm done discussing features, let's talk about the videos for these games. And by videos, I mean the awesome trailers that the Smash team created in order to reveal these characters, as well as the Super Smash Bros. Direct. These trailers are so creative at introducing characters, and they're a fun way of revealing bits of information throughout the passing months leading up to the game's release. Now, I've already talked a bit about the E3 trailer that showed off all sorts of game modes in the Nintendo 3DS version of this game. As for the character trailers, though, these are unbelievable. Each trailer is so creative, with it revealing a character in a different way each time. And I don't know if people have realized this, but these trailers aren't for the casual gamers. These trailers are for the hardcore gamers. The Smash Bros. Direct wasn't for casual gamers. That was for hardcore gamers, big fans of the franchise. All of this stuff is for the hardcore fan base. But I'll talk about that more in a moment. The Smash team has put together each of these trailers in such iconic fashions to the point where each one can be rewatched over and over and over and over and over again without people getting bored. Let's start with the titles for each trailer. Initially, the trailers have had pretty generic names. The first trailer was called First Trailer. Mega Man's trailer was called Mega Man Joins the Battle. It wasn't really until Little Mac's trailer where the trailers started having creative names such as Champion of the Ring. Honestly, I think the Smash team couldn't have picked a better title. Little Mac is the champion of the ring, and the trailer shows his hard work and dedication to being a boxer in his own sport and a fighter in Super Smash Bros. Later trailer names would also be creative, such as Challenger from the Shadows, Goddess of Light, and Red, Blue, Yellow. As for the content of each trailer, the regular routine nowadays is that there is some sort of animated scene, a character reveal, and then a montage of the character in battle. With this routine, each trailer has a way of being different. Mega Man's trailer started off by showing Mega Man getting wrecked, but the remainder of the trailer showed him wrecking everybody else with each of his attacks getting shown off in the process. And then there's Little Mac's trailer. Has anyone ever noticed that this trailer is only about 2 minutes long, and yet only about 30 seconds of it is gameplay? Yet in that 30-second time span, pretty much every major detail of Little Mac is shown. His standard attacks, his special attacks, his strengths, his weaknesses, his grabs, his final smash, his power meter, and his taunt. And then, during the course of Little Mac's trailer, Doc Lewis is shouting out each of Little Mac's skills, while also throwing in humorous phrases of his own. Little Mac's trailer also showed that the reveal for each character could be different, as the majority of his reveal was an animated scene. And the animated scene was done in an American animation style, most likely to appeal to his mostly American audience. Greninja's trailer started off as a reveal for Charizard. No, rewind. In fact, it started off as a trailer showing off all sorts of Pokemon in 3D. Then, Charizard appears, and like the awesome fire-breathing lizard that he is ready to take on various Super Smash Bros. Characters, as he dodges each of their attacks and charges at Mario with a flaming mouth. And as things get more and more epic, Greninja appears. And for this trailer, the focus isn't just on Greninja. While the trailer does a great job at showing what type of character Greninja is and how he plays, the trailer also showcases the powers of Charizard and Lucario. And these characters come from the kid-friendly Pokemon games, but this trailer is extremely epic. Again, these trailers are made for hardcore audiences. You won't normally see Mario with a flaming fist getting ready to punch Charizard. You won't normally see Greninja smashing everybody in an arena. Pokemon is a franchise intended for all sorts of ages, but the intention of these trailers, or at least this trailer, was for a much older audience. Pac-Man's trailer was also interesting. For his reveal, there's not really much of an animation at the beginning. It's very basic, possibly referencing the simplicity and basicness of games from the early 1980s. The trailer is called Red, Blue, Yellow, as it is showing Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, and Pac-Man are all owned by different companies, and they can be represented by the 3 primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. But there's another thing to take into consideration. Each of these trailers has an English version and a Japanese version, so trailers that include voice acting have to be dubbed. And of course there was the Super Smash Bros. Direct, which featured multiple mini-trailers. These included things like the item montages, which were also great. They were quick, surprising, and fun. There's also stuff like the character reel at the end that showcased all of the announced characters up to that point, and the Super Smash Bros. Direct, like I previously stated, was intended for a hardcore audience. Sakurai knows who his fans are. If he didn't, he wouldn't take the time to explain the differences in the movesets of characters. He wouldn't take the time to refer to previous Super Smash Bros. Games, and he probably wouldn't have even taken the time to do the Direct at all. But he took the time to please you guys. And the Smash team not only took the time to edit the whole thing together, but they took the time to translate the entirety of the Direct itself, both in terms of Sakurai's vocal announcements and the Direct's textual trailer announcements. And speaking of translation, let's talk a bit about it. Obviously, these games are being created in Japan, so naturally, the games are going to initially appear in Japanese. There is a lot of translation in a game like this. Not only do character names and voice clips have to be translated, but there's also stuff like the trophy descriptions, mode information, and online interactivity that has to be translated. Now here's the thing. It has been known for some time now that the 3DS and Wii U versions of these games will be released separately. Furthermore, the 3DS version of the game will come out in Japan about 1 month before the American version. Now, why is this? Well, there's a couple of reasons that I see for this. These games could easily have worldwide release dates. Pokemon has already done it, and Super Mario games are usually released pretty close to one another when released worldwide. But the way I see it, and the way that the Smash team probably sees it, is that they want to get the 3DS version out as soon as possible, so that they have more time to focus on the Wii U version, and so that they can get that game out before 2014 ends. If they wait for translation in order to do a worldwide release, that slows them down. And if they release the 3DS version first, they can focus more on the Wii U version, which is the more anticipated version. There's also probably some sort of marketing strategy in all of this. The Nintendo 3DS is already a successful Nintendo system, whereas the Wii U has been struggling as of late. If the Wii U version is released during the holiday season, though, then this will encourage more people to buy a Wii U. And if the 3DS version comes out first, people will get a bit of a taste test to see if they want to have the bigger Wii U version. And during the holiday season, there will probably be plenty of children that want Super Smash Bros. As a holiday gift. At the same time, we should really be thankful that certain things are translated as quickly as they are. Each weekday, Sakurai posts a pick of the day, and his posts are quickly translated into numerous other languages. The editors of the trailers take the time to translate everything, rather than just putting subtitles over everything. Plus, it's also a bonus to have the translators have a good sense of humor. And surely, there are tons of other things that I didn't even mention in this video. These games are massive! Each of these games may borrow assets from one another, but they are still games of their own. Working on one game on its own is tough. Working on two, even tougher. And these games are noteworthy games that combine the gaming industry's most memorable and iconic characters. Sakurai and the Smash team pay attention to all sorts of details with every character, stage, item, and mode, and they add all sorts of features to appeal to the fans. Then, they give us the pleasure of keeping us up to date with the pick of the day and character reveal videos. These games are masterful representations of game design, and Sakurai and the Smash team represent why we love video games. Video games convey a sense of wonder, a sense of creativity, and a sense of fantasy, with some of the most impossible ideas becoming a great adventure in a virtual world. Different video games represent different stories with different characters that represent different ideals. Super Smash Bros. Takes each of these games, each of these stories, each of these characters, and each of these ideals and combines them into a great celebration of video games as a whole. Dear Mr. Masahiro Sakurai and the Smash team, you guys have done a wonderful job with these upcoming games. Even though they're not out yet, I can tell you guys that from what I've played, the games are very enjoyable. I can tell that you guys are working hard to push the limits and create something that you have never created before. Thank you. Ignore what the haters say, because there will always be people that love what you guys do. Some people are ignorant to the fact that video games take a lot of hard work, and that it is challenging to work in the industry. However, there are people that understand that those who raise their limits and burst through them are the ones that are successful. You guys perform a lot of hard work that many people don't seem to understand. But I truly appreciate all that you've done for us. I don't know if Sakurai or the Smash team or anybody from Nintendo will see this, but if they do, I want them to know that they deserve a big thank you from the fans. So, thank you. As with many great game designers, Sakurai and the Smash team are game design masters.